All right, this video is for Module 42 on the foreign exchange market. First of all, we did an activity in class to illustrate the foreign exchange market. So hopefully you were in class because it's usually a good activity. But I'll be kind of referencing that. We divided into two groups, and we had one group that was a country that was using noodles as currency, and we had another group that was using paper clips as currency. So we're kind of using that as our demonstration. So the foreign exchange market basically determines the exchange rate of currency, or the price of currency. So when we're talking about the foreign exchange market, we're talking about how much, for example, US dollars to how many euros. Okay, it's basically the price of how much dollars do I need to be able to get a euro, right? Or in the case of the activity in class, how many, for example, noodles do I need to get to be able to get a certain amount of paper clips? Okay, those would be examples of the price of foreign currency. So this is actually determined through supply and demand. So this is our very, very last graph for the semester, and so the last graph is a supply and demand graph. So it's really, really nice and easy. The only difference here is that we're changing what our axes are labeled. So in this case, just like all demand curves, demand is downward sloping. So in this case, the demand for currency is downward sloping simply because the exchange rate actually determines the price of products in that country. So as the exchange rate goes up, right, and it takes more and more dollars to get euros, for example, the exchange rate goes up, what happens is that the price of the products is going to be a lot much higher. It's going to cost me that much more to get products in that foreign country. So as a result, it means that products are more expensive to consumers, so the demand for that particular currency will go down. And so it's going to be vice versa with supply. With supply, the supply of currency is upward sloping because the higher the exchange rate, it means that, for example, foreign products are cheaper, so Americans need to be able to supply more U.S. currency to be able to buy those foreign goods. So for example, if we're talking about, let's say this is a graph, this is exchange rate of the euro versus the US dollar. Okay, so this, by the way, is the quantity of dollars, quantity of US dollars. So this is the euro for the US dollar. So the equilibrium is the exchange rate. So in this case, it's 1 euro for every 150 US dollar. Okay, and then the quantity, it doesn't give you a quantity, but that tells you the quantity of US dollars that are going to be at equilibrium. So in this case, for example, as the demand demand curve is downward sloping, because as the exchange rate goes up, it becomes more expensive, for example, for Europeans to come over to the United States and buy products, because it's going to take them much more euros to be able to get, for example, 1 US dollar, right? And so as a result, it's going to be much more expensive, and so they're not going to demand very many US dollars when the exchange rate is higher. Whereas with supply curves, okay, supply curves is upward sloping, because as the exchange rate goes up, okay, as the exchange rate goes up, that's good for US consumers, okay, for the standpoint of that it's cheaper to be able to go to Europe to be able to buy products. The only problem with that is that you want to go to Europe to buy a product, okay, it means that they're going to offer more and more dollars, okay, when the exchange rate goes up, because they need more dollars out there to be able to buy more European products. So hopefully that makes sense. But this is basically how exchange rates are actually determined. So these exchange rates up here, this is just a picture of, a board showing the exchange rates. Those exchange rates are determined by supply and demand. And when they move, it's because supply and demand moves. So what causes supply and demand to move in the foreign exchange market? Well, here's what I want you to do. Like I said, this is a very, very last graph. So I want you to add this graph to your graphing section of your notebook. So we have the graph here, and I kept it the same. This is the exchange rate. This is euros for US dollars. Okay, so how many euros for US dollars? And I didn't label the equilibrium, but that's fine. And then the quantity of US dollars. Okay, so the quantity tells you that this is, the foreign exchange market for the US dollar. Okay. Now, I want you to copy the chart into your notebook right next to it to tell you these are the things that are going to shift the supply or demand curve. Okay, so the factors are, there are 5 factors. The 5 factors are going to be the preference of foreign goods, the prices of foreign goods, the foreign interest rates, foreign incomes, and speculation. Okay, and then I have some examples in there, and I tried to group them. You'll notice the color coding so that you know that that's with that factor. Okay, now what I want you to do is I'll go through the example, the first one with you, and then I want you to pause the video and I want you to finish the last 4 on your own, and then you can come back and check and see how you did. So here's what you have for the last 2 columns is the effect on the U.S. exchange rate and the effect on a foreign exchange rate. And I made it general foreign exchange rate. We could talk about the euro, or we could talk about the Japanese yen, or whatever, the British pound, doesn't matter. But that's the effect on the foreign exchange market. So let's go through an example to understand what I'm talking about here. So the first factor is the preference for foreign goods. So let's say, for example, the U.S. prefers foreign products. Okay, if U.S. prefers foreign products, let's skip the U.S. exchange rate for a minute. Let's talk about the foreign exchange rate. So let's say that this is the Britain. We're talking about Britain. So if the U.S. prefers British products, we like British products, what happens then to the supply or demand for British pounds? Is the supply or demand going to change? Well, because we're interested in their products, we need to get British pounds to be able to buy British products. So it's going to increase the demand for that foreign currency, in this case, the British pound. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. So increasing the demand for the foreign currency. But in the U.S. market, okay, the U.S. exchange rate, here's what happens is that it doesn't, what happens is that because we want British products, we need more U.S. dollars to be able to buy British pounds. So this is going to increase the supply of, sorry, this should be U.S. currency. I need to fix that. So increase the supply of U.S. currency. So increases the demand for the foreign currency, in this case the British pound, but it increases the supply of the U.S. currency because we need more U.S. dollars to be able to go and transfer them to the British pound. Okay? So then the next one says foreigners prefer U.S. products. What if they prefer our products? Well, if foreigners prefer U.S. products, let's look at the demand side first. Because they want more U.S. products, what happens to our exchange rate? Our exchange rate is that they're wanting our products, so they need more dollars. So it's increasing the demand for U.S. currency. But on the foreign exchange market, so the for British pounds, for example, they need to supply more British pounds to be able to get more U.S. dollars. So it's going to increase the supply of foreign currency. All right, so I want you to pause the video and I want you to think through the rest of the factors and see if you can figure out the rest of them as to how they're going to affect the supply and demand. So you will find that go with the demand first, so which currency is going to be more demanded more, and then the other one is going to have to supply more of their currency to be able to get the currency that they want. Okay, so try that, pause the video, go through it, and then play it back. Okay, hopefully you gave it a shot. I wanted you to give it a shot on your own. So let's go through these. So if the price of foreign goods, if the foreign products are cheaper, so it's cheaper to buy foreign products, where are we going to buy products? Obviously, the foreign country. So what happens then is which one is going to increase the demand? We're going to increase the demand for U.S. dollars, or increase the demand for the foreign currency? or increasing the demand for the foreign currency, because if we want their products, we have to have their currency. So if we need their currency, we need to also supply more of our currency, our U.S. currency. Sorry, that should say U.S. currency. Apparently, I made a mistake there. What about if U.S. products are cheaper? The demand is going to increase for U.S. currency, so because we want more dollars to be able to buy U.S. products, but the foreign exchange rate, the foreign exchange market is going to be having an increase in supply of the foreign currency because they need to supply more, for example, pounds to be able to buy more U.S. dollars. All right, what about foreign interest rates? So this is interest rates on investments, okay? So if foreign interest rates are higher, so think of it as an investor, okay? Where do you want to be? Do you want to be in the U.S. or do you want to be in the foreign market? If you're an investor, you want to be in the foreign market. So it's going to increase the demand for the foreign currency. As a result, it's also going to increase the supply, should be for U.S. currency, sorry. It's going to increase the supply for U.S. currency. So then what about the U.S. interest rates? If the U.S. interest rates are higher, again, as an investor, you want to go where the interest rates are higher because you earn more money. So if interest rates are higher in the United States, then it's going to increase the demand for the U.S. dollar, but it's also going to increase the supply of the foreign currency because they're going to need to supply more of the, for example, British pound to be able to get U.S. dollars. All right, what about foreign incomes? So foreign incomes are higher. So if foreigners have more money, what happens then? If they have more money, it's going to drive up demand in their own country for their own products, but it will also transfer into increased demand for foreign products, like, for example, the United States. So if they want more U.S. products, it's going to increase the demand for U.S. currency. Okay. As a result, it will also increase the supply of foreign currency because you're going to need more British pounds, for example, to get more U.S. dollars. Next one says the U.S. incomes are higher. If U.S. incomes are higher, that means that, yes, we're going to buy more of our own products, but we'll also buy more foreign products. So we're going to buy more foreign products, so it's going to increase the demand for foreign currency, but we also need more U.S. dollars to be able to get that foreign currency. So it's going to increase the supply for U.S. currency. All right, last one is speculation, and this is the speculation as far as those people that are using currency as an investment. I know this sounds weird, but rather than, for example, buying stocks and bonds and things like that, some people buy currency. So it's kind of weird, but if they think that the value of the dollar will increase, if that means it's appreciating, if they think the value of the dollar is appreciating and they're going up. If you're an investor, okay, what happens then to the demand for the U.S. dollar? Then the demand for the U.S. dollar is going to increase because they're going to want to get in on it now when the value is lower so that they can show some growth and that they're actually making money on their investment. Because there's an increase in the demand for the U.S. currency, it's also going to increase the supply for the foreign currency because they need more, for example, British pounds to be able to buy U.S. dollars. And then the opposite is also true when they think the value of the foreign currency will increase. If they think the value of the foreign currency will increase, then you will see that there's going to be a higher demand for foreign currency because that's going to go and appreciate over time. And it will also increase the supply of U.S. currency because they're going to need more U.S. dollars to be able to buy the foreign currency. All right. Hopefully all of this makes sense. You will notice that I, went higher rather than lower. So for example, with foreign interest rates, I could have said foreign interest rates are lower. That would obviously have the opposite effect of what I had here. So that's why I'm telling you that these are some examples. But hopefully if you understood all of these, you could do the opposite as well. Let me know if you have any questions. That's it.